Hey, what's up, and welcome back to the channel. I wanted to make another video about being an INTP. Now, as an INTP, my lead cognitive function is introverted thinking, or for short, just simply TI. Now, the thing about TI, I guess it's, made itself very aware that I have it in terms of when I have conversations with a lot of people. Because throughout my life, and if you're also a strong TI user such as myself, you probably experienced this a lot as well. Oftentimes, a lot of people will say that I pick at semantics way more than I should, but I guess all I have to say is I don't really care. I think, well, I mean, I suppose it just comes from having high TI and ergo also having, low extroverted feeling. I don't really care how it comes across to like other people. You know, I don't care about the implications of what you're going to say. I don't care about the blanks that I'm supposed to fill out. I will, follow the logical structure of everything that you're saying because that's essentially what I do every single time I'm trying to talk. I'm trying to, form words and sentences where if I say this, it therefore follows that it leads to this and that and blah blah blah. So as I'm talking, I think that's also very evident in terms of how logically structured I try to make everything I say, and in return I will subject other people to this exact same treatment. A lot of people might find this annoying, but I mean, if you just kept in mind how you used your words, I don't really see how that's my fault. Because, you know, I've spoken with a lot of people and they're like, oh my gosh, you're just peeking at semantics, or you don't have to like dig at like every single thing, especially if like, let's say there's a debate, or let's say there's like an argument or something. But I mean, just like, again, I really don't see it as my fault personally, because if you said things properly, you wouldn't even give me the opportunity to, dig at a tiny, tiny little thing, or a super, super like pedantic sort of thing that if I were to just, I don't know, I guess like see the whole thing, because it reminds me of a video I saw from Frank James. He was actually coming for ENTPs in this case, but I think it's just possibly a thing that if you're like an NTP in general, INTP, ENTP, then oh, I'm sure you've dealt with this as well. I think as an INTP, admittedly, I'm less annoying than an ENTP in this regard because he was going after the whole. Okay, it was Frank James's video about how what he doesn't like about like every single personality type, and when he was talking to like ENTPs, he was talking about how like, oh, they'll jab at this one little thing, and he's like, oh, I wasn't trying to make sense in every single, like, just look at the big picture of what I'm saying. I mean, sure, yeah, as an INTP, as an NTP, I do see the bigger picture, but I guess for me in particular, as like an INTP, you could actually just be that stupid. Like, for all I know, like, why should I give you the benefit of the doubt in terms of what you actually want to say? Because I think just as an NTP in general, you always have to compare and contrast like ideologies and perspectives, honestly. Like, somebody can say this and you can say this. So if we're going to be on the same page, I will dig at every single little thing that like you might possibly have to say. I will poke and prod at definitions. And see, I don't even get how this is an issue. Like, people are always like, oh my gosh, stop picking at semantics, you're not actually saying anything, blah blah blah. Or like, if we're just going to focus on like definitions. But I mean, then at that point I'm kind of just like, then why do we even bother to use language then? Because literally all that we're trying to do with language is impose definitions and blah blah. Obviously, depending on how you are or whatever the experiences you've gone through, how you piece things together, I don't fucking know. We don't necessarily all have the same connotations to these words, right? I mean, we can both speak English, for example, but like even then, like, that's why words have like connotations, quote unquote. Like, you can say something is stupid and someone else can call it like super retarded. A lot of people might think, oh, you're calling it retarded, that's like extremely harsh. But if you were to say it's stupid, maybe they could still think it's harsh, but at least like it wouldn't have the quote unquote like severity that the word retarded might, for example. So, I'm kind of just like then when I talk, this is what I'm gonna lay out. And when you start talking like, no, I'm not just gonna give you like a simple like little pass. If there's a tiny bit of thing that just like breaks your entire like narrative, then I will pick at it. If I don't entirely understand the definition that like you're using, then I'm gonna ask you, what do you mean by this, blah blah blah. To me, it is part of the whole conversation. It is not running away. It is not trying to, oh, you're trying to pick at semantics just so like you can win. No, I mean, this entire thing about language is us fiddling with like definitions, quote unquote. Like, if you're even going to tell me, oh, here you are picking definitions again, or like something like that, because a lot of that has a lot of that has happened to me, that I'm just like, why are you even using language in the first place? Like, you have a problem about going over definitions, and yet to express that you have a problem going over definitions, the words you're using are to express those definitions of you having a problem with, us going over our definitions. So literally, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, the moment you say that, I feel like it literally just cancels out like everything that you think you say. Like, okay, at this point, if you don't care about the definitions that you're actually using, then okay, you're just okay, you're saying words, but you might as well just be making sounds, and you might as well just be, making noises. So I think from like a TI point of view, it makes perfect sense going after semantics, going after definitions, going after, okay, the structure of everything that, like, you're gonna say, quote unquote. Yeah, I guess this is what it's like from one INTP's point of view. Honestly, if you wanted to call it quits on definitions, then we could both just call ourselves epistemological nihilists, but not a lot of people have, seen me eye to eye on that, so I don't know if a lot of you have read this, but I'll read a part from it that's pretty fitting for this video. Architects exhibit the greatest precision in thought and language of all the types. They tend to see distinctions and inconsistencies in thought and language instantaneously, and can detect contradictions in statements no matter when or where the statements were made. Only sentences that are coherent carry weight with them, and thus authority derived from office, credential, or celebrity does not impress them. Like the ENTPs, INTPs are devastating in debate or any form of adversarial discussion, their skill in differential analysis giving them an enormous advantage in discrediting their opponent's arguments and in structuring their own. They regard all discussions as a search for understanding and believe their function is to eliminate inconsistencies no matter who is guilty of them. It is difficult for an INTP to listen to nonsense even in casual conversation without pointing out the speaker's error, and this makes communication with them an uncomfortable experience for many.